General Hospital spoilers for Friday, June 6th, state that Nina Reeves will threaten Drew Kane, while Michael Corinthos explores a custody arrangement. Sasha Corbin will also ask Jason Morgan for a favor, so this is what spectators should expect. Willow Corinthos had just delivered Sasha's baby in court, but paramedics arrived shortly after. On Friday's episode, Sasha will be in the hospital and holding her baby girl when Jason pays her a visit. Jason has already done a lot for Sasha, but now that their masquerade as false fathers is ended, she will ask him for one more favor. Speaking of the false father ruse, Carly Spencer will confront Jason for lying to her and push him to explain his actions as the week ends. Natalia Ramirez will make a phone call on Friday's show to reveal she is in serious jeopardy, since she was recently detained for driving while intoxicated and obstruction. Will Natalia send an SOS to Sonny Corinthos or Jen Sidwell instead? Sidwell already owes Natalia something, so she might be able to rely on him to help her out of this situation. Regardless, Marco Rios will issue a warning to Sidwell soon. It appears like Marco will try to steer Sidwell away from Natalia and all of her drama, but Sidwell may yet come to her rescue. Next, Anna Devane will have a run-in with someone and realize that achieving their aim will require more than mudslinging. We'll see if Anna meets Ezra Boyle or someone else whose signature move is mudslinging. On a lighter note, Molly Lansing Davis and Cody Bell will get the opportunity to get to know each other better courtesy to a Metro Court appearance. Other General Hospital spoilers state that Curtis Ashford will meet with Jordan Ashford, so he may request her assistance in finding Jacinda. Whatever the case, Curtis may have a problem after Kai Taylor overheard his plot to bribe Jacinda to lie. Curtis wants to make it appear that Drew paid for a night with Jacinda and freely took the ketamine, but will Kai turn him in to Drew? Nina will reveal to Drew that Carly was speaking the truth. Nina was indeed behind the drugging scheme, but she warns Willow against spilling the beans and getting arrested. If you do that, we will both lose Willow, Nina says in Friday's GH teaser video. Nina may remind out that Drew clearly framed Tracy Quartermaine, thus Willow will undoubtedly be upset with him if this is revealed. Furthermore, Nina might disclose their previous passionate experiences and ensure Drew loses Willow if he wants to play things that way. Back in the hospital, Sonny will inform Michael that sometimes compromise is the only option. The whole baby incident brought Michael, Sasha, and Willow together in some way, so maybe now is the moment for Willow and Michael to strike an agreement on custody. Drew will undoubtedly be upset by this news, so keep an eye out for any potential conflict with Willow. Nina Reeves has always been a complex character, motivated by love, suffering, and a strong desire to protect those she cares about. Her most recent activities, however, have crossed a hazardous line, as she now threatens Drew Kane in a desperate attempt to obtain custody of her stepson, Wiley. This dramatic argument originates from Michael Corinthos' new custody agreement, which has left Nina feeling deceived and cornered. The tension between these characters has been growing for months, and now with Wiley's future on the line, the stakes are higher than ever. Nina's passion for Wiley is apparent. She has dedicated herself wholeheartedly to her duty as a stepmother since marrying Michael. Wiley represents the family she has always wanted, and the thought of losing him is unbearable. Nina viewed Michael's proposal for shared parenting with Drew as a betrayal. Drew, in her eyes, is an outsider, a damaged man who has no right to take a portion of the child she has raised. Her dread of losing Wiley has clouded her judgment, leading her to take drastic steps to keep him in her life. Drew, on the other hand, has personal motivations for fighting for custody. Drew's lone remaining family member is Wiley, his late brother's son. Drew, who has been misled, imprisoned, and stripped of his identity for years, is determined to restore his small family. He believes Wiley deserves to know his true background, and he will not be deterred by Nina's threats. Drew has fought far worse opponents than Nina, and while he understands her anguish, he will not allow her get in the way of what he believes is right. Michael's agreement was intended to be a peaceful conclusion, avoiding a protracted and bitter legal struggle. He offered a shared custody agreement in which Wiley splits his time between both families, allowing Drew to be a part of his life without uprooting him from his familiar environment. Michael honestly believed that this was the greatest option for everyone, particularly Wiley. But Nina's reaction has thrown everything into disarray. Her inability to accept any plan that includes Drew has put Michael in an impossible situation. He adores his wife, But he also respects Drew's position as Wiley's uncle. Michael is torn between loyalty to Nina and doing what is right, making it difficult for him to maintain peace. Nina's threats to Drew have escalated swiftly. Initially, she attempted to reason with him, appealing to his sense of morality. When that failed, she resorted to intimidation, warning him that she would disclose his prior wrongdoings if he did not back down. Drew is not easily intimidated. He called her bluff, challenging her to do her worst. This further increased Nina's hatred, and she's now digging deeper, looking for any advantage she can use against him. Her desperation has made her reckless, and many around her are beginning to worry about how far she will go. Carly Corinthos, who never stays out of family turmoil, has taken Drew's side in the dispute. She has never truly trusted Nina, and her recent outburst just confirms her doubts. Carly believes Nina is unstable and unfit to have any say over Wiley's upbringing. She's been quietly amassing evidence to use against Nina, preparing for the custody struggle she knows is inevitable. Carly's presence has just added to the tension, as Nina sees her as another enemy attempting to break her family apart. Meanwhile, Wiley's biological mother, Willow Tate, is caught in the middle. She wants the best for her son, but she's split between the two options. She understands Drew's desire to be a part of Wiley's life, but she also recognizes Nina's love for him. Willow has always been a voice of reason, but even she is having trouble coming up with a solution that will satisfy everyone. Her greatest concern is that Wiley will become a pawn in this bitter dispute, caught in a tug-of-war between the adults who pretend to adore him. Nina's history of impulsive behavior makes the situation even more problematic. Her previous actions, motivated by sadness and desperation, have often resulted in unanticipated repercussions. Those closest to her, including her daughter, Sasha Gilmore, and her best friend Ava Jerome, are imploring her to take a step back before she does something she can't undo. But Nina has gone too far, afraid that if she does not fight now, she will lose Wiley forever. Drew, for his part, is attempting to stay calm. He opposes war, but he will not be intimidated into giving up his rights. He is speaking with his lawyers, preparing for a possible legal battle. But he's also reaching out to Michael, seeking to reason with him one-on-one. Drew appreciates Michael as a father and understands how terrible his situation is. He is willing to negotiate, but he will not walk away completely. As the confrontation escalates, Wiley stays blissfully unaware of the storm raging around him. He is happy, healthy, and loved by all of the adults in his life. But for how long? If this custody battle goes heated, Wiley may bear the brunt of the consequences. The court may have to interfere, and no one can predict a judge's decision. Nina's threats have triggered a chain reaction that might change everything. If she heeds her warnings, Drew's reputation could be damaged. But if Drew holds firm, Nina may lose more than custody. She may lose Michael's trust, Willow's respect, and even her place in Wiley's life. The question now is whether she is ready to risk everything to keep him. Michael is the wild card in all of this. He has the authority to either diffuse the issue or intensify it further. If he unconditionally supports Nina, Drew will be forced to fight harder. However, if Michael attempts to intervene, he risks alienating his wife. His decision will have far-reaching consequences for his family, and there are no easy answers. In the end, this dispute is about more than just custody. It's about love, devotion, and how far individuals will go to protect what they value. Nina's feelings for Wiley are genuine, but so are Drew's. Michael's compromise was intended to bridge the gap, but Nina's refusal to accept it has escalated an already tough situation into a full-blown crisis. As tensions build, residents of Port Charles wonder if Nina's threats will convince Drew to back down. Will her desperation drive her to do something unforgivable? One thing is certain. This war is far from over, and the consequences might tear families apart. Gio paid Sonny a call at his residence, curious if he knew. Gio couldn't understand why Sonny would pay for his music and school if he wasn't aware he was his grandchild. Sonny remarked, "I didn't know you were my grandson, but I knew you were special." Gio shared some of his thoughts and fears, and Sonny tried to soothe and reassure him that everything would be well. Despite Sonny's reassurance, Gio remarked that he believed Dante disliked him, and hence Gio was not interested in establishing a relationship with Dante, just because of biology. Sonny showed tolerance and moderation as he described his experiences learning about Dante, but he did not seek to provide Gio with any solutions. Sonny promised Gio, "Anything you need, I'm here." Gio declared that whatever he did next, he would do it alone and for himself, and left for the Quartermaines. Lucky decided it was time to face the truth and admit that Christina had cut the brake lines on Rick's automobile, resulting in the accident. He tried to explain Christina's state of mind and her regrets for her conduct, but it didn't help Elizabeth feel better. Lucky mentioned that Christina was all over the place, to which Elizabeth replied, "Yeah, because she just cut someone's brake lines." When Elizabeth asked why he hadn't turned Christina into the cops, Lucky stated that he believed her imprisonment would do more harm than good, and that he owed Sam a duty for protecting Lulu. After additional discussion, Elizabeth promised to maintain Christina's secret, and refused to be held accountable for sending one of Alexis' other daughters to prison. When Elizabeth inquired as to why Lucky chose to give her the truth, the conversation turned amorous. Lucky responded, "If we are going to do this, I can't lie to you. I hope to be worthy of your trust." Elizabeth's mood improved, and she expressed gratitude for the time they had spent together as a family. She was relieved that her cast was finally coming off, but she will regret having that additional time together. Lucky later went to the kitchen, and Elizabeth discovered a ring box on the couch. Christina arrived at Carly's residence to meet Michael before the custody trial. After a brief catch-up in which Christina hid her truths, they talked about Willow and her changing conduct. Christina warned Michael not to look for the best in Willow, noting that his ex was more obsessed with Drew than she had ever been. It's just like she was with Shiloh. Michael's resolve strengthened throughout their chat. Willow, she is not a dainty flower. She has agency. She is responsible for her own decisions and she made them. She decided to prioritize Drew. She chose to destroy her family, Michael continued, determined to do whatever it took to get his children away from Willow and Drew. Michael stated that he believed the children were no longer emotionally safe with Willow, and that it was his job to get them out of this circumstance because he was the one who put them there. His talk with Christina concluded on a dark note with Michael proclaiming, "If I don't have any other option, I will break Willow down to nothing to keep my kids away from her." Christina predicted that Willow would meet a Michael Corinthos she had never seen before. In the Quartermaine kitchen, there was a verbal conflict, with Brooklyn chastising Lois and Grandma Gloria defending Lois and calling Brooklyn out. "That's how it'll be now, Ma. You're going to hide behind Grandma?" Brooklyn inquired of Lois. When Gloria told Brooklyn that was enough, she said, "Oh please, I'm only getting started." Throughout the confrontation, Gloria and Lois did not appear to be sorry for their decisions. They saw themselves as protectors rather than liars, and they both claimed to have done everything they could to safeguard Gio and Brooklyn. "What would you have preferred? That we gave him to strangers and you never saw him again? Would that have been a better option?" Grandma Gloria inquired indignantly. Brooklyn snapped, "You can't twist this. You two are acting as though you did nothing wrong." Brooklyn said she could forgive being lied to and kept from being Joe's mother, especially at his lowest point when he lost Camila, but she added, "You kept me away from my son when he was all alone, and I will never forgive that." Brooklyn accused Gloria and Lois of making assumptions about what was best for her and Gio, saying, "You don't know what life I could have given Gio. What he could have given me." Gloria made one final attempt to avoid confronting the truth by blaming Lulu. Brooklyn admitted that Lulu despised her and owed her nothing, but stated that these were family members she should have been able to trust. Just then Gio strolled in. Alexis was completely avoiding the truth when she returned to the Davis and Miller legal offices. Mayor Laura Collins stopped by to ask Alexis why Ace's estate was missing $10 million. Alexis, nervous but quick on her feet, assured Laura that the money was used to diversify Ace's portfolio and put in the Dolos fund. Laura appeared doubtful for a brief while before succumbing to Alexis' fib. Before leaving, Laura simply begged Alexis to keep her updated in the future. Alexis believed she was off the hook for a moment until Marco arrived to discuss the Dolos fund. He told Alexis that it appeared to be a shell firm put up for money laundering and should be investigated for fraud. At Lulu's residence, Rocco rushed down the stairs to show her the footage of Gio smashing his violin at the nurses' ball and inquire about what had happened. Dante appeared and revealed that Gio was his son and Rocco's half-brother. Rocco was surprised and had questions. Don't we deserve answers? I mean, Joe's my brother. We missed out on almost everything. Lulu and Dante quietly accepted Rocco's fears and told him that they would find the answers they sought. When Rocco asked how Gio found out, Lulu explained that she was the one who learned the truth, and that Gio had overheard her discussing it at the nurses' ball. Lulu explained, I need you to understand that I respect both adoption and Brooke Lynn's right to make her own decisions. My issue was with the lies. Gio is your half-brother and, as you mentioned, your father. He is an incredible father. So when I found out Gio was here and in your life, I couldn't remain quiet any longer. She expressed remorse while also hoping Gio will realize how fortunate he is to have Dante as a father and Rocco as a brother. Lulu opened the front door to see her mother. Laura informed her daughter, I heard it was an eventful nurses' ball. Jocelyn was recruited by Jack Brennan, who concealed the time she spent training by fabricating a trip to Easter Island. It's possible that Jason's initial suspicion of Jocelyn's false story was setting the stage for what was to come. Jason may obstruct Jocelyn's path and jeopardize her own purpose, as he assists Anna in investigating what Dalton is actually up to. That might raise suspicions and ultimately cause Jason to discover that Jocelyn joined the WSB. Jocelyn might be desperate to silence Jason if he manages to get his hands on her secret agent Surprise. Will Jocelyn wind up pleading with Jason to keep this a secret from Carly Spencer and other people? According to General Hospital spoilers, Jason and Anna's collaboration may cause Jocelyn some problems, so we'll keep you informed of any startling developments. For the first time this summer, the Metro Court pool is open. Emma, Kai, and Trina got together by the pool to unwind. Jocelyn joined the group for a short time before noticing Professor Dalton and stating that she had to go to work. Trina stood up for Jocelyn's morals when Emma told her, I know that Joss is your friend and can do no wrong in your eyes, but your bestie sabotaged me and then stole a job that was practically mine for herself. Jordan Ashford and Jen Sidwell were already on the other side of the pool, joining Professor Henry Dalton. When Jordan first met Dalton, it was immediately apparent that Sidwell had known him for a while. Jordan was informed by Sidwell that Dalton was working on innovative projects at the university that would have a profound impact on the globe. Dalton is extremely appreciative of Sidwell for providing support for his studies. Jocelyn approached the professor to inform him that she had sent in his grant submission on his behalf, and he introduced her to Jen Sidwell, his good friend and colleague, who invited her to join them. Sidwell inquired about Jocelyn's satisfaction with her job at Dalton. Dalton praised her and claimed that his thorough screening process had not shocked him. He claimed to have learnt the hard way that he needed to locate people he could be quite confident he could trust, which is why he had such a strict procedure. Dalton later disclosed that he had been working on a clean engine development technique. When Jocelyn and Sidwell finally left, Jordan had an opportunity to speak with Dalton. He was evasive in his responses, stating, I don't want my work subject to public scrutiny until it's complete. Emma looked back to give the professor a menacing look as she joined Kai and Trina in the pool. Everyone gathered outside the courtroom at the courthouse. Carly was reminded by Jason to remain composed. Even if it meant being polite, she promised to do whatever it took to get her grandkids away from Willow. Tracy approached Drew directly and said, Oh Drew, I'm so sorry, I'm fresh out of ketamine. You'll need to visit your neighborhood veterinarian, she said, giving him a shoulder pat before leaving. Diane interrupted Michael and Jason before they entered the courtroom after overhearing Drew tell Rick that they were counting on him to remind the judge that Michael is not an altar boy. She said she was not going to put Jason on the stand because she was worried it might be used against Michael. In order to prevent Jason from being used against Michael in any manner, Diane advised him to keep his distance. It's not about Willow, Jason told Michael in his parting words. You must keep the children away from Drew since it is about them. Remember that you're a wonderful father, and that your children depend on you. Jason departed to go to Sunny's residence. Before everything started, Rick went outside to contact Alexis and inform her that her daughter Christina, who is impetuous and unpredictable, was scheduled to testify. Evidently concerned that Christina's testimony would undermine his argument, Rick promised to have a bad experience if she testified. To pick up Christina, Alexis went to the courts. Alexis grabbed Christina away and shouted, I'm getting you out of here before you get us both thrown in prison. Dante watched with suspicion. As the trial started, there were intense looks back and forth between the parties. First was Carly. In her testimony, she discussed Willow and Nina's attempt to take the kids to the Christmas party without Michael's knowledge. According to her testimony, Michael ultimately consented to let the children go that evening after learning about it. Carly remarked, "It was devastating for Michael, but he realized that Wiley and Amelia's welfare came first." The next person to testify was Chase, who had to acknowledge that Willow had betrayed him. Diane reminded everyone that Willow was the one who was married to Chase after Rick was duped by having Chase testify that she had cheated on him with Michael. Drew reprimanded Rick for not doing enough over the break. With a knowing look at Nina, Rick reassured him that he shouldn't be concerned, saying, "Diane is just retreading old territory, whereas we have new and compelling evidence to offer." Dante told Carly, Diane, and Michael that Christina had gone out with Alexis. Diane stated that they require a witness to attest to Willow's concealment of Michael's family from him throughout his stay in the burn unit. Michael claimed to know who was qualified to testify. When Carly texts her to make sure to stay cool, it turns out to be Jocelyn. Rick asks Dante to speak on the stand on Michael's conviction for involuntary manslaughter in connection with the death of Claudia Zaccara. Diane explained the situation to Dante as they passed. It was Tracy Quartermain who testified. She portrayed Drew as envious of what Michael possesses and asserted that Michael is the future of the family. Rick attempted to discredit Tracy by using the kidnapping claims against her. "I did my job," Tracy informed Diane after she departed. "Don't forget to complete yours." Jocelyn went into the courtroom to testify next. She testified that Willow had harmed Michael's family by using his medical proxy. She maintained her composure as Rick attempted to misrepresent her, but it appeared that she would struggle to do so. "Come on, Jocelyn, don't fall for the trick," Carly said at the conclusion. Marco tried his best to alert Alexis to the Dolos Fund's appearance as a shell company earlier at the Davis and Miller legal office. Alexis made an effort to reassure him that everything would be all right and that it was legitimate. If necessary, he volunteered to assist her in avoiding personal danger. Later, Christina, who was obviously annoyed by the scenario, accompanied Alexis back to her office. She asked Alexis with frustration, "So that's how it's going to be now? When Rick says to leap, will you say how high?" Alexis retorted sharply, "You attempted to murder someone, Christina. Instead, you nearly killed 2 other people. So you can't be choosy about how I hide it when that occurs. All right?" Dante visited Sonny at his home before heading to the courthouse, and he apologized for not dealing with the fact that Sonny was his father all those years ago. He bemoaned to Sonny that he didn't know how to feel or what to do in a comparable circumstance now. "The important thing right now is that you have a son and he's hurting," Sonny reassured Dante, adding that he was confident he and Gio could work things out. Sonny did not accompany Dante to the court since it might have harmed Michael's case. Jason joined Sonny at his home after leaving the courthouse for the same reason. They talked about Gio and Michael. Sonny stated that although he disagreed with Lois' actions, he still supported their friendship. He claimed that it was difficult to witness Gio shatter his violin because he thought Gio would vent his rage on himself. Sonny doesn't want it for his grandchild since he understands what it's like. After being ejected by Brooklyn at the Quartermains, Lois paid Sonny a visit before returning to Bensonhurst. Since Gio has no one watching out for him, she confided in Sonny that she worries about him. Sonny promised to keep an eye on him. Tensions were just as high in the Quartermain kitchen as they were in the courtroom. Gio arrived to confront Brooklyn, Gloria, and Lois. "This isn't my home," he told them, adding, "and none of you are my family." Gio was informed by Brooklyn that although she had placed him for adoption, she was unaware that Gio was her son. Gio only sensed that she was not interested in him. Gio was unable to see through Gloria's insistence that they acted in Joe's best interests. Additionally, it was disclosed that Lois and Gloria had a conversation with Camila when she was in hospice care, maybe persuading her that it would be best to keep Gio in the dark. Camila agreed with them when they insisted that was not how it happened. Gloria said, "And Gio, if Camila had wanted to use her last breath to tell you the truth, we would have worked things out." Lois, who seemed weary of being assaulted, remarked bluntly, "You know what, Brooklyn, if you had wanted to keep Gio, we wouldn't have stopped you." Eventually, Brooklyn ordered Gloria's and Lois to leave. She assured Lois that she would send her belongings to Bensonhurst and advised her not to even bother packing. I understand that they lied to us both, but the truth is that none of you wanted me, Gio remarked, glancing at Brooklyn. It's a mutual feeling, he said, and left. As Jason Morgan became embroiled in yet another high-stakes mystery that threatened to shatter the tenuous relationship between him and Jocelyn Jacks, the tension in Port Charles had reached a breaking point. An ordinary investigation into the dubious operations of the now-defunct Aurora Media had devolved into something much more sinister. Jason became increasingly aware that Jocelyn was more than just a college student caught in the crossfire. She was an active participant in a game that could kill her. And the most startling aspect? She was employed by the WSB. Like her mother Carly, Jason had always known Jocelyn was a bit of a brat. However, this was not like the others. This was a deliberate action that revealed she had been working in the background for much longer than anyone had thought. It wasn't just adolescent rebellion or a hasty attempt to establish herself. The mysterious phone calls, the abrupt disappearances, and the way she constantly appeared to know things she shouldn't were all subtle but unmistakable indicators. Jason had initially written it off as paranoia, but he was forced to face the reality after Dex Heller alerted him to odd encrypted texts connected to Jocelyn's phone. The realization was like a kick to the stomach. Jocelyn had somehow been recruited by the WSB, the same group that had deceived, exploited, and manipulated so many individuals throughout his life. How? When? More importantly, why? Though he couldn't be certain, Jason's gut told him that this had something to do with the ongoing inquiry into Victor Cassidy's remains. It was necessary to face Jocelyn head-on in order to obtain answers, even if doing so put their relationship at peril. At the same time, the PCPD was nearing the conclusion of the Dalton investigation, a case that had occupied them for months. With connections to global espionage and the reappearance of old adversaries, what had once appeared to be a simple business fraud case had taken on a far darker tone. Even Dante Falconeri, who had been spearheading the effort, had not foreseen the impending bombshell. Jason was trying to piece together Jocelyn's connection to the WSB, when Dante got an anonymous tip that completely changed the course of events. The evidence suggested that there was a mole in the PCPD, who had been providing the opposition with information. The ramifications were astounding. No one, not even those closest to the case, could be trusted if there was a traitor in the police force. As he contemplated the alternatives, Dante's thoughts were racing. Were some leads cold because of this? Why had important witnesses vanished out of thin air? Given that Jason discovered Jocelyn's secret at the same moment, the timing couldn't be coincidental. Was there a connection between the two cases? Or was this just more dishonesty in a city founded on falsehoods? Jason prepared for the encounter as he followed Jocelyn to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Her face changed from surprise to resignation at the sight of him. The jig was up, she knew. How much time? Jason's voice was quiet but tinged with anger as he requested. After a moment of hesitation, Jocelyn straightened her shoulders. Enough time. His ire was only heightened by the evasive response. You and the WSB are collaborating. How risky is it, do you know? I know exactly what I'm doing, she retorted, her eyes blazing with fury. Jason, this is not a game. You don't grasp the greater things that are happening. Then tell me about it, he said. Because all I see right now is Carly's daughter risking her life for a cause that doesn't give a damn about her life or death. Jocelyn's mouth clenched. You're not getting it. I had no other option. He paused at that. You didn't have an option? What do you mean? The sound of approaching footsteps reverberated throughout the warehouse before she could respond. Jason reached for his firearm in an instinctive gesture to protect Jocelyn. However, in the conventional sense, the person who emerged from the shadows wasn't an enemy. Anna Devane was the one. Her presence validated Jason's worst suspicions. This was more significant than he had anticipated if Anna was involved.